Boston, the winningest sports city this century. Each championship deriving from a plan. Join us as we discuss the next Boston Banner Blueprint with your hosts, Josh Finkel, Nick Walsh, and Nate Philbrook.
What is up, everybody? Boston Banner Blueprint, Episode 8. We're doing a little bit of a Super Bowl special, and then we're going to mix in an appetizer of some Pats chat. I'm going to kick it to Nate first. He's got a quick message for us. So, Nate, take it away.
Absolutely. We always want to start with letting everybody know exactly where to find us. And, of course, that starts on Twitter/X at Boston Banner BP, Boston Banner Blueprint on Facebook, Instagram. And then you can always listen to all of our episodes, not just this one, but an entire array of episodes on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Don't forget to like, subscribe, rate 5 stars, comment, and then share with your friends and family. So without further ado, let's kick off this episode.
Yeah, thank you for that, Nate. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really excited for this one. We got a couple new segments, couple familiar segments that we've covered, or not segments, but topics we've covered in the past on our previous episodes. But really excited for the new segments. But first, let's just get right into it. Let's talk about the completed Patriots coaching staff that's finally come to fruition over social media the last couple of days. So, Nate, I know you have a list, so how about you kind of walk us through that here?
I sure do. And starting right at the top, everybody knows already that Mike Vrabel is going to be the head coach for this year, followed by he bringing in his main man from the LA Rams, John Stryker. Or Stretch, if you will, is his nickname, because apparently he's like 6'9". He is going to be the vice president of football operations and strategy, followed by Frank Pariano, director of sports performance. According to some in the industry, apparently he is very, very good at injury prevention, so that's not a bad thing to have in the building. Gerard Mayo's brother stays on. Deron Mayo, strength and conditioning. Brian McDonough is his assistant. Starting with the defense, Terrell Williams, as we talked about, Zach Kerr, inside linebackers, Scott Booker, safeties, which he was a high-ranking official previously, and so he took a nice payday to come over to New England to coach the safeties. Justin Hamilton, cornerbacks, Clint McMillan, defensive line, Mike Smith, outside linebackers, Vinny DePalma, defensive assistant, Kevin Richardson, Milton Patterson, both as defensive assistants, and then Ben McAdoo switches sides of the ball and goes to senior defensive assistant. Rounding out the team with our offense, of course, starts with Josh McDaniels as offensive coordinator, Thomas Brown coming over from the Bears as tight ends and passing game coordinator, Doug Marrone is the offensive line coach. We know how big that hire is, followed by Jason Hottalling. I don't know if I said that right. My apologies to Jason. Assistant offensive line coach, followed by Robert Kugler. Todd Downing is wide receivers coach. Tony Dews, running backs coach. Ashton Genchi, cornerbacks. And Riley Larkin, offensive assistant. Chucky Keaton, offensive assistant. And then they retain Jeremy Springer for special teams coordinator, as well as Tom Quinn, his assistant. So full lineup. I know that we're going to get into it, but there's a lot of coaches there to be really excited about. And so I think that talking about blueprint, that sets the blueprint for a very successful season and a true season of growth that I think we all can rally around and get behind.
Yeah, and I think just jumping, it just feels like a complete 180 from last year. I felt like I saw something on Twitter. It felt like we had the worst coaching staff in the league in all departments besides special teams. Obviously, that's why we retained Springer. But, I mean, jumping off the page, you got 4 former head coaches, 5 former offensive coordinators. So just the experience coming into the building with now a second-year quarterback in May, and then whatever they want to do in the draft. It gets me really excited. I've said it a lot now, but Nick, we haven't heard from you, and we know that you love your Pats, so take it away, my man.
Well, one of the things that I found most interesting about the offensive side of the coaching staff is we all know that Josh McDaniels was my personal choice for offensive coordinator, but I also understood the reservations people may have had because it's some of the old offense, it's the Brady offense, how we want you evolve from that. So what I found interesting here was most of the underlying coaches that have come in are all from the McVay and Shanahan trees. So yes, you have that stability with Josh McDaniels, but you're still going to infuse the offense with some new young blood, some new concepts, new schemes, hopefully to modernize the offense, which is one of the terms that we've been hearing is they want to modernize how they run the offense. So all the hesitations about maybe bringing in McDaniels because of that, I think you can kind of take a step back, take a breath, and be like, okay, there's going to be some sort of progress here on that side of the ball, which I'm looking forward to seeing how that takes form this year.
Yeah, and something I'll add to the Josh McDaniels talk that hopefully if you're a Pats fan and you are listening, this will get you excited. On the Patriots Pulse podcast, Greg Bedard hopped on and he had this to say. He said, one NFL source says fans should be, in quotes, prepared to have their doors blown off by Josh McDaniels' offense with Drake May and the Patriots. Wait until you see it. People don't understand how much Josh did last season. This has the potential to be really cool. Be prepared to be a little bit shocked. And what he means by the work that Josh did is all the teams he visited with the Chiefs, visited with the Rams, visited with a lot of college programs just to try and get more up to date with the current NFL, as he's not been in the league for a little bit. And he had more of a pocket passer in Brady and Mac Jones the last time we saw him. So now you got a different animal in Drake May. And it seems like Josh McDaniels is up for the task, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
Yeah, and to piggyback off all of that and to kind of add to the excitement, I think that something that was brought to light during media week of the Super Bowl this week was Nick Sirianni from the Eagles talked about, and I know that Josh McDaniels, which is how this ties in, has talked about in the past that he is a players and then formations and then plays kind of quote coach and coordinator. And so I think that that's really, really important when you're dealing with a young quarterback is not only do you want to put him in positions for success, but you're going to do that with a player focused mindset rather than trying to fit a square peg into a round hole and get the guy to do something that he's not necessarily comfortable with or just that he doesn't necessarily excel at. Putting the guys in a position for success will lead to success, period. These are professional athletes. And so that's just putting the right foot forward and really hitting the ground running.
And one thing I liked about McDaniels, and to be honest with you, I didn't see this clip until probably last week, but he was on Julian Edelman's podcast earlier in the season, back in the fall, and they were talking about how you develop a young quarterback, and he said he always took the approach of first find out where that quarterback is, or any sort of player, find out where they are, and just basically spoon feed them a little bit at a time. And don't give them too much to begin with. Like, you're not going to get to the top of the mountain by the end of training camp, but can you gain a couple levels, a couple pegs up the mountain by then? And by the end of the year, you're probably still not going to be there, but keep building on and keep building on and keep building on. And finally, there's going to be a day where it just clicks for Drake May or whatever player. And I think that's the important part with McDaniels is, he's not going to be a one and done coordinator. We've hit on that before. So there's going to be time to build that continuity, build that development for May, and be able to be the best quarterback that we all think he can be.
And I'll add to that. I think not only for May being young, it's a fairly young offense overall. The wide receiver room is very young outside of Kendrick Bourne, and maybe if they do make an addition, not in the draft via trade or free agency, and then obviously Ramondre is going to be entering like year 6, but Jalen Polk, very young, and he needs a guy like Josh McDaniels. He had a very bad rookie year. He just got voted worst offensive rookie of the year all over social media, so I'm sure he's seen that. So he just needs a guy like Josh McDaniels, a fresh voice, an experienced guy to come in, the ceiling or the floor has been raised by all these coaches, all these additions, it feels like. And I'm going to keep saying it, it's just really hard to not be excited. Nate?
Yeah, and again, to piggyback off of your comments there is going back to our bonus episode with Carlos, we talked about, is this place a destination? And I think that we're starting to see a trend there of we've seen a massive shift from last year. We practically had to beg and plead for guys to come in and interview for roles. And this year there's guys lining up at the door to come join this team just with the coaching staff. And so I think that is, again, for a reason for excitement of, to your point, we have 4 former head coaches, 5 former offensive coordinators or play callers. 10 of these guys out of the 22 total coaching hires to date had connections to Vrabel in Tennessee. And so this is a guy that people have worked with before and want to work with again. And so that's really exciting, knowing exactly what you're getting into when you're building out your blueprint.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Go ahead.
Sure.
What coaching hire gets you the most excited, except like excluding Vrabel and McDaniels? So of all the assistants and stuff like that, what gets you the most excited?
Go ahead, Nick.
I honestly think probably Doug Marrone. I'm going to be probably boring and take we all know when we talk about the draft that I want a fat guy in the draft. So I'm going to take the fat guy coach, the offensive line coach. But he's one of those other former head coaches on the staff now. Hopefully solidify the offensive line. We've heard from former coaches here in New England, Bill O'Brien this weekend, Dante Scarnecchia, who's like the offensive line god in terms of coaches, that Marrone really knows how to coach offensive linemen. So even if we don't get a stud tackle in round 1, which is a potential pick we can have at 4 or trade down, if we get 5 serviceable guys on that line, we don't need 5 all-pros. But if we just get 5 guys that know what the hell they're going to do, I feel comfortable enough where Doug Marrone's going to be there to be able to solidify that offensive line to at least hopefully not give May 1 concussion this fall. Like, is that a realistic ask of keep our star quarterback upright and healthy?
Don't slide.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm just excited for the experience at that coaching spot. Like, I think the rest you can kind of mix and match in terms of who you put in there with McDaniels. But the offensive line and the games is won at the line of scrimmage on the offensive side and the defensive side. Whoever controls the line of scrimmage tends to win the game more times than not. So having a good offensive line coach, I think, is paramount.
Yeah, and for those that forget, Doug Marrone, we go back to talking about leaders of men. That forget, Doug Marrone was the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2017 that took Blake Bortles and Jacksonville Jaguars took the Patriots to the brink in the AFC Championship game. And so, that's a guy talking about, rallying a less than stellar situation that Jacksonville seems to always be. Go ahead, Nick.
And when you say brought to the brink, I'm probably going to piss off a lot of our viewers because we're Patriots fans and all the talk about how the Chiefs get the refs on their side. Doug Marrone's team should have won that game. Miles Jack was not down on that fumble in the fourth quarter. Would have been a 27-10 ball game with 10 minutes to go instead of a 20-10 game. We never go to the Super Bowl against the Eagles and lose to Nick Foles if it wasn't for that call. So Doug Marrone had them ready to go and had that game won. If we caught a break, the refs helped us out. I am man enough to admit it. So that's just to show how good of a coach Doug Marrone is to basically get Blake Bortles within 10 minutes of a Super Bowl and really should have been in the Super Bowl.
And so, that just further, cements my point of that he's a guy that you want in your clubhouse or in your locker room in this case. But to answer your question, Fink, I'm going to switch gears to Thomas Brown as a guy that I'm most excited about. He's a up and coming offensive mind. Obviously, he was kind of thrown straight into the fire in Chicago this year as he was quarterback's coach or offensive strategy guy, and then he was offensive coordinator one week and then head coach and offensive coordinator the next week. And he was calling plays for the first time. So he really wasn't given much transition, but he did interview for the offensive coordinator position in New England this year. And then they liked what he had to say enough to be able to offer him a spot on the staff. And so that leads me to believe that, this is a guy that we want here, as it's something that enticed them. What about you, Fink?
Yeah, so I agree with Marone. I like the Brown hiring. That's not where I would have gone. So for me, it was between Marone, Stretch, and retaining Springer. I really think special teams, we've seen how bad Patriots special teams have been for a few years. And last year was really, really nice to have a competent room. Nick?
And it was after you were done, I just wanted to bring up one more point. So finish your take and I'll.
But yeah, I would say Stretch or Springer, since you already said Marone. Those two guys I'm really excited for. I'm excited for Stretch to really – so Vrabel has his guy. We obviously saw Mayo didn't have that. I mean, we saw the fiasco. I forget what game it was. We talked about it. It was what game was it? Like, you know what I'm talking about?
It was the Eberflus, down in the ball or not calling timeout.
Yeah, exactly. So we saw them. They were texting about it. The Patriots coaching staff was texting about it. So having Stretch, he'll already have a plan for that. So that's nice. Nick, we'll kick it to you, and then we're going to shift gears to our rumor mill of guys that have been talked about to the Patriots.
Yeah, and one last note on the coaching staff. What I kind of found interesting was Gerard Mayo's brother is staying on as the strength and conditioning coach. Anyone who's been on Twitter the last couple of weeks are seeing some rumblings that a potential lawsuit might be down the line with Gerard Mayo and Robert Kraft. Like, can it really be that bad if your own brother is staying on the coaching staff? Like, whatever might be coming down the pipe in that regards. I don't want to speculate too much because I don't know how bad it is or whatnot. But like, if your own brother is sticking with the team, like, how can it be all that bad?
Yeah, shout out Pat's Pro on Twitter and Grilled Cheese. They've been breaking some stuff, so shout out them. But yeah, so I say it's time to shift gears and let's talk about some guys who have recently been brought up in terms of trades headed to our very own Patriots. So kicking it off, Myles Garrett, I mean, he jumps up the page in any form. I mean, on the defensive end, on the trade end, no matter how you want to talk about Myles Garrett. So Nate, take it away and talk about these Myles Garrett rumors.
Yeah, so I just want to dispel a rumor real quick on Myles Garrett is his biceps are almost as big as mine. So he hasn't gotten there yet, but so I just want to dispel that for any of our listeners. No, but I mean, obviously he's a physical freak, right? He's a guy that quarterbacks do not want to see coming off the edge and applying quarterback
especially
pressure.
Mason Rudolph.
Especially Mason Rudolph. That's a good call out. Yeah. So, but applying pressure to the quarterback was a weak spot of this defensive core, and so lining him up next to Keon White, or if an Abdul Carter is able to fall to us, that's where it goes from a weakness on this roster to an immediate strength. Now, the question is, what does a return for Myles Garrett look like? And so that's where I'm going to throw it back to you guys to kind of talk about some of that speculation.
I'm not sure about the return, but he's going to need a new contract. How much is he going to cost? I believe he's 28, 29 now. Does he fit into your window of competing? Like, that's the big thing. Is he worth the draft capital that it's going to take to get him? I can care less about the money, but whatever you're giving up to get him into the building to begin with, is it worth it in the sense, are you in your competitive window to truly compete for a championship? And right now with this roster, the answer is no. That can definitely change with the draft and free agency and trades, and we'll know more by training camp, obviously, but realistically, I'm not sure. Like, I would never say no to getting a guy of his caliber on the team, but also have to be smart about it.
Yeah, so one thing, I agree, maybe it's on a Super Bowl window, but it makes sense bringing him in. If you draft a guy like Abdul Carter, you got a guy like Keon White, and you got a guy like Christian Barmore, hopefully he comes back, hopefully, because that I love Christian Barmore. And a guy like Vrabel, having Myles Garrett in that defensive room to mentor these young guys, to echo what Terrell Williams is saying, to echo what Mike Vrabel is saying, that is what I would consider signing him for. Maybe it's not a Super Bowl window, but you talk about ceiling and floor raisers. Myles Garrett's that type of guy, and that's a guy you would love to bring into this building, into this defense.
And so one thing that I would certainly say is obviously number 4 should be a highly protected pick, right? As that's going to be immensely valuable in terms of bringing in high caliber blue chip prospects into the building. Now, would you guys consider a number 2, so a second round pick? So I think that's number 38, and then a Joe Milton, because we know that Cleveland's going to be looking for a quarterback. Some sort of semblance around that package.
So I just thought of this on a whim, so I know I'm throwing this right at you guys. So does anyone know where the Browns pick in round 1?
Top 5, I think.
Browns
Isn't
are
it
top 5 as well?
No, it's immediately before us, isn't it? Aren't they at 3?
I'm pretty sure they're at 3.
Are they at 3?
That's information we
I
should
thought
know.
You should know that.
I was going to say, would it be possible to flip first round picks if they were behind us? Like they take 4, we take theirs if they were behind us, and we'll take on Garrett.
I would trade next year's first.
They're number 2.
Yeah,
they're number 2, so I take that back.
I would trade next year's first for Myles Garrett.
Next year's first,
straight up.
Yeah, and like this year's third.
I would have to think about that, but I
really don't want to trade Joe Milton. Not yet.
Why?
Give him another year, especially because you think okay, yes, I know his value's high, but think about another year under this coaching, how much he's going to improve. Then the value's going to. What if Drake May gets hurt? You want Joe Flacco back there? Because we could talk about the Joe Flacco rumors.
Well, let's be real. If Drake May gets hurt, our season's gone anyway. So.
Not necessarily
talking about Joe Milton. This is what I'm saying. Keep him. He's literally Drake May kind of 2.0. Like
Nick, let me be clear. So for the guy that wants 2 All-Stars at first base for the Red Sox, you don't want two competent quarterbacks.
You said that. You said that.
I did not say 2 first. I did not say 2 All-Stars.
No, you wanted 2 All-Stars at every position. You want Prime Jeter at short. You want A-Rod at third, Griffey in center, and Pudge behind the plate.
Well, anyone would want all that, but realistically, I just wanted someone better than Dom Smith as your backup first baseman. I don't think that was too much.
Not to crap on the guy, but
so circling back, where this is the Patriots podcast today. So I think that to y'all's point, I think that Myles Garrett would be obviously a massive addition and would immediately take this defense to another level. And so being able to consistently get pressure on the quarterback is something that then alleviates the rest, right? It then takes pressure off the linebackers. It then takes pressure off the corners and the safeties, but because we're getting to the quarterback faster. And so it makes the world go round a whole lot easier if you are able to get that guy. But who's to say that guy's not Abdul Carter at 4? And so that's not to say that Abdul Carter will be there at 4, as I currently do not think he will be, but I hope that he really sucks in the combine and he falls, because we know that he's a freak.
Another reason to trade Joe Milton, he would cost us Abdul Carter for winning that last game.
Yeah, I'd rather keep the guy on the rookie deal than pay Joe Flacco to come here. Especially I just want to we got like $120 million, just spend all that, not on Joe Flacco, everything else, spend it. But also talking defensive line, and pass rush, you get Myles Garrett here. Think about the interior pass rush you're going to have with Godchow. I know he's not great, but in Barmore, if he comes back, you got so much to worry about on the edge. You have 3 dudes off the edge, and then you have interior pass rush. What I don't know what you could do. Most offensive lines can't handle that, besides like Baltimore and Kansas City and Philadelphia, obviously. But teams we're going to play, you could dominate like that. And then talk about your secondary is getting Alex Austin. They keep him. I like him a lot. You have Gonzo. Duggar's going to be healthy. Like, man, I'm kind of talking myself into Myles Garrett right now.
if Duggar plays at the level he did last year, though.
Well, he had a high ankle sprain. Like, you can't move laterally on a high. You can't move anyway on a high ankle sprain. But I think that's enough Myles Garrett talk for me. And I got a guy on the other side of the ball that I'd really love to talk about and that I'd really love to come to New England. I was actually talking to a guy Quick backstory. I want to be broadcaster, so I have a couple connections at like ESPN that I've been talking to. So I was like, hey, let me know if Cup comes to New England because you'll know it first. So he's like, I'll let you know. And so we were talking a little bit about that. But Cooper Kupp, we know it. He's in the trade mill or rumor mill. The Rams want to get rid of him. He already posted goodbye to LA. So that's definitely a guy that I think is a potential option. I don't think it would cost that much, and the Rams want to eat some of his salary. So I'm going to kick it to Nick. Nick, what do you think about Cooper Kupp?
I mean, if the price is right, obviously, like one thing I really intrigued me was I'm blanking on his damn name. The Rams' former offensive lineman, Walter Payton, Man of the Year.
Whitworth.
Why am I blanking?
Whitworth.
Thank you. He was on 98.5 today because of Radio Row, all of them out there at the Super Bowl, and he brought up a good point. He goes, Cooper Kupp was the smartest guy on the Rams offense. It was basically having McVay out there on the field. And apparently Kupp has said behind the scenes that he can't wait for himself to get into coaching. So if you're trying to institute the McVay and Shanahan offensive philosophy, what better way than to have Cooper Kupp try to help teach it on the field along with the coaches off the field from the sideline. But again, it all comes down to, like, if it's going to cost a second round pick, I probably would say no. But you get into that third and fourth round pick range, I'm all for it. Yeah. So it's all more so the cost of doing business, basically. If the price gets too high, I'm out on a 32-year-old wide receiver. But if the price is right, sign me up. If he's gone, to me, at this point in his career, I would put, like, when we brought in Danny Amendola. We weren't bringing in Danny Amendola to be a 1 or a 2. But if he can be a solid high-end 3 option, assuming that you're getting more weapons this offseason, sign me up, and I don't think twice about it.
Nate, I know you have something to say, but quickly, 2 things. What if the Rams might move off Stafford? What if you just trade Milton for Kupp? Another thing, did you just say Cooper Kupp's a high-end 3?
At this point in his career, like, going forward, yes. Going forward, yes. If he's going,
so you might think I'm frozen, but I just can't believe what I'm hearing.
Yeah, same.
Are you serious? I can't believe what I'm listening to right now. Cooper Kupp is not a high-end 3. Keyshawn Boutte is a high-end 3.
No, Keyshawn Boutte is a practice squad player. What I'm saying is Cooper Kupp at 33, 34, 35 years old.
What are you saying right now? I think my voice just cracked. I can't believe what I'm. You just say Keyshawn Boutte's a practice squad player? He's our best receiver last year.
That is an indictment on Patriots wide receiver room.
He was still pretty damn good, and he was the fastest to 100 catches at LSU, where Justin Jefferson and all those guys came out of. He's no slouch. I don't know what you're talking about. He was awful, yes, his rookie year, and then he was betting on sports, but what more do you want from Keyshawn Boutte?
Because, in his rookie year, he wasn't given it a shot. I mean, he...
Yeah. But Cooper Kupp high-end 3? How?
Cooper Kupp in the next few years, yes. Because when you get older, unless you're Tom Brady, you start to decline.
Yes, you do, but what's his contract? 2 years? 2 years, $40 million? Yes? I don't know. I think that's his contract. So he's here for 2 years. I think it's 2 years, $40 million. Maybe it's 1 year, 20. I don't know.
Well, for those that are questioning, they can go back and listen to our episode that we discussed all of the trade targets in the wide receiver room. So I went into detail about his contract there. But I know that you're bringing it up. So to keep things on the Kupp train of, obviously I'm fully on board with bringing him in, as he's the savvy veteran, as I've said, that is the huge addition to Drake May, as he's a absolute technician when it comes to route running. As you mentioned, it's from that West Coast offense in the McVay tree. He has the mind to be able to be in the right spot when he needs to be. And then he has a sure-handed catch radius that with a quarterback like Drake May that's not always pinpoint accurate, but as athletic as they come, that's a guy that you want to be able to build your room around. And sure, if you look at any wide receiver into their mid to late 30s, they're going to decline. But I highly disagree that. Well, I very much disagree that he's going to be a 3 over the next couple of seasons.
Want him to. You're mistaken. I want him to be R3. That means I want 2 guys better than him on the offense. If it's a young guy like a Ted McMillan and then a T. Higgins, that's what I want him as our third. I want him as our slot option. That's what I'm trying to say.
And I mean, sure.
I'm not saying around the league he's a 3 around the league. I want him to be our 3. That's why I'm bringing him in 4.
Yeah, and I don't think that necessarily happens in one off season. However, I do think that bringing a guy like Kupp in, the only concern that I have is how vocal he's already been about his disappointment with leaving LA. He's already made his money. He knows that he's not going to go out and sign another massive contract. And so he envisioned himself retiring a Ram. And so that's where my concern is that where is his motivation if he comes to a young quarterback-led team like New England that he's going to have to take his lumps with of they're not going to be an immediate contender if he's the only guy. Go ahead, Fink.
Walsh shed it. He wants to be a coach. That's perfect place to come to. Come rebuild a culture. Come prove to yourself that you can help build a culture, build a new Patriot way. Give yourself the affirmation that you can coach, and come show the Rams that you still are a damn good wide receiver. And obviously the Rams just want to save money. They went all out for that Super Bowl run. That's pretty much what it is. And I'm sure if they could keep Kupp, they would, and I'll gladly take him. I just don't think he's better than a 3. I get what you're saying, but next year he'd be our 1. I don't think we get someone better than Cooper Kupp this offseason, the way things are going. Ted McMillan, you can draft him, but he's not going to be better than Cooper Kupp right away.
Not on
Cooper Kupp's still a Super Bowl champ. Ended Tom Brady's career, 50-yard pass down the field. But I think that's enough rumor mill for right now. So let's shift gears to the NFL draft as we have the number 4 pick. We all know, and we have some names we'd like to discuss. So Nate, how about you take it away for this portion of our Patriots podcast?
Yeah, so going back to our bonus episode with Carlos, the ideal situation for the Patriots at 4 is if 2 teams ahead of them select a quarterback. And of course, in this draft, it is most likely going to be Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. Rumor has it that Shedeur is apparently dropping plenty of hints in the industry that he is going to be a Giant. And so that bodes well for the New England Patriots. However, the 2 teams ahead of the Giants being, as we just found out, the Cleveland Browns and then the Tennessee Titans, what they do is going to dictate how the Patriots look at their draft. I'm all for identifying and going and get your guy. However, as you touched on, Nick, there are plenty of holes that need to be improved and need to be upgraded. And so if your guy isn't there at 4, like an Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter that you're just dead set on, then that's when a trade back to a 6, to an 8, something like that. That's where you can fall into the Will Campbell and Kelvin Banks, still make an impactful draft position or draft day signing, and then be able to build off of that with the future picks that you'd ultimately get in that deal. But yeah, so taking 2 quarterbacks high is obviously a high priority for the Patriots in terms of who they would ultimately fall on. I'm a big Abdul Carter guy. I would love to see that, to your point of being able to fill out that Vrabel defense. But if he's not there, then I'm a Will Campbell guy of building from the trenches.
I'm going to go first, Nick. Scout TD on Twitter. He's also a Patriots fan, but he has some really, really good draft content. I don't think this dude has missed on potential stud wide receivers. He is selling himself. He's selling his soul on Travis Hunter, and I'm backing him. I want Travis Hunter. I want both sides of the ball. Travis Hunter. You want to? We're trying completely different things here in New England now. Let him try both ways. Let him see that it might not. Let him show himself that it's not going to work. Don't be the team to tell him it's not going to work. Let him see which side he's better at. If he's good at both, then there you go. You just solved 2 issues. I'm selling out for Travis Hunter. I want Travis. Bring me the Heisman. Bring me the girlfriend drama. I don't care. I want it all.
See, I go back to it. Even Deion Sanders couldn't manage both full time. Like Deion Sanders, bona fide Hall of Famer, no doubt about it, but he was a bona fide Hall of Famer because of his defensive side of the ball. If you're drafting Travis Hunter to be both, I think you're going to be underwhelmed on one side of the ball. So I'm not willing to gamble the number 4 pick on that. Like, if we get Travis Hunter, I'm going to pray that I'm wrong and he's the best. He's the Shohei Ohtani of the NFL, obviously. But if you're drafting Travis Hunter at number 4, he better be worthy of the number 4 pick as a cornerback only or a wide receiver only, and then you take the extra position as a cherry on top. Now,
so Nick, does your opinion change if he's a full-time cornerback to match over to flip sides of the field with Gonzo, and then he plays, say, 20 snaps on offense?
How good of a cornerback is he to, like?
He's an elite ball hawk. He is an elite ball hawk. He's so good. He's an elite
ball, if you're telling me he's Christian Gonzalez on the marrying him on the other side, then yeah, because then he's worthy of the number 4 pick as a cornerback only. But what I'm saying,
but the thing is, he's not. The thing is, he's not. He's also a wide receiver. Let me tell you. You give it to him in the. Oh my God. Producer Tony. I know you're at the Celtics game. I hope you're having fun. Please put Travis Hunter highlights in for a couple of minutes so our viewers can see and so I can see. I hope Travis Hunter is a New England Patriot. I think it would be a generational mistake to not take him. I would be fine with Abdul Carter too. I'll say that. I would not be mad. And if we get one of these guys, I don't want to get my friends to bash me oh, you said you want Travis Hunter. No, if we get a good player that's going to translate, I'll be happy. I just really want Travis Hunter. That's my guy. That's Fink's guy. But I'm not going to be pissed off if they get another good football player. I want talent. It's just I think Travis Hunter is a little bit above the rest.
And keep in mind, too, that he was the only Division I football player to be in the top 5 in terms of offensive production as well as, defensive efficiency. He was the only guy to rank top 5 in both categories. Obviously, there's not too many guys like him, but he ranked top 5 in both, which means he's pretty damn elite at both.
And I get maybe some people might be like, well, maybe he'll get hurt, but he didn't get in college. He didn't get hurt in college playing both sides. These are still grown men. He's playing Power 5 conference teams. It's not like he's playing a FCS schedule, playing the UNHs of the world. No offense, UNH. Love you guys. Go Dylan Lobb. Hope the Raiders bring him on. He's the next McCaffrey. But anyway, I just lost my thought. What was I talking about?
Travis Hunter.
That's right. My guy, Travis. How could I forget? Yeah, you got to get Travis Hunter here, man. You talk about Cooper Kupp and Travis Hunter. Now you're talking with Booty, with Pop, Kendrick Bourne. I guess we can keep him because him and Kupp are boys, but I don't know, man. Travis Hunter, he's just different. He didn't get he's playing these grown men. That's what I was talking about. Not getting hurt in college. Thanks. But yeah, the durability, that doesn't question me. And I want the experiment to go as long as Travis Hunter can take it. If he's an elite cornerback by the end of it, then he's an elite cornerback. If he's an elite receiver, he's an elite receiver. I think at the end of the day, you're getting one elite something. Maybe not both, but at the end of the day, I think one part of him will be elite. And an NFL team will figure that out. And I hope it's in New England.
The only concern I have is if he's a good wide receiver and a good cornerback. And when you're picking at number 4, you're expecting a blue chip, great cornerstone player. Which
hitting on that's not guaranteed. So if he's good at both, I'd say that's a hit.
But if Abdul Carter is a great defensive lineman,
I don't think we're going to have the luxury of choosing between the two.
Right. I think
I
one of
hope
them's
so.
going to be off the board.
I think
Yeah,
we
I
are.
think
we
one
are.
of them's going to be off the board by 4. I agree with you, but
If not both.
If not both, and at that point, trade back and get a fat guy.
Right. So transitioning from what we anticipate for the Patriots, moving into a segment that Nick so nicely named in our show doc, Super Bowl fun time. We got the big game this weekend. So of course, here on the Blueprint,
Creativity is not our strong suit. Clearly,
we're gonna.
Nope.
I would say that. We're the
for
only
Nick,
show
I
out.
guess.
We're the
For
only
Nick,
show
I
out there
guess.
talking all 4 sports here. So
Yeah. Wait. What did they say on Section 10 that they don't think people could talk about more than one sport?
yeah, they said that no show out there can successfully talk about all 4 sports. Well, I beg to differ.
I think. Yeah. I say we could prove them wrong. We obviously love Section 10. I listen to you guys all the time, but hey, come on over to the Blueprint. Tell us,
That's
see
right.
what we're all about. Give us a chance. See what we're doing. But yeah,
So,
Nate, what were you saying?
yeah, Super Bowl fun time. Nick, I'm going to throw it to you first. Let's just dive right into what you're hoping to see this weekend as Super Bowl. Was it 54? No.
No, it's
I
like
I think you're a
59.
few years.
Yeah, I'm way behind. Super Bowl 50 something kicks off this weekend.
So obviously it's the Eagles versus the Chiefs. The Chiefs are going for history. First team to win 2 Super Bowls in a row to just make it back to the third one. They're trying to be the first team to three-peat. Obviously there's a lot of similarities between the Chiefs dynasty and what we just experienced for the last 20 years. Yes, Nate?
Super Bowl 59. Sorry on that. My bad.
It doesn't matter. The Pats aren't in it, so it doesn't really matter to us. Like,
Yeah. But obviously, I'm sure if you ask most New Englanders if they're rooting for the Eagles or the Chiefs, they would say they're rooting for the Meteor. So I'll ask you guys, who are you guys rooting for this weekend? If you had to choose one of the 2 teams.
can I take this, Nate?
Go ahead.
So, as a Blueprint answer, I'm rooting for the Eagles, and mostly because of Howie Roseman and the way that he has handled the Eagles. He's never overthought anything. He takes the best prospect at whatever pick he's at in the draft, and it's normally worked out. Jalen Carter, Nakobe Dean, like he's aced his last 3 or 4 drafts. In free agency, he gives the money to the best player. He keeps it simple. Simple leads to consistency, because if you consistently keep things simple, it's an easy path to follow. He got the Eagles back to the Super Bowl in 3 years, Nick.
Just because you said keep it simple, it makes me think of one of my all-time favorite athletes is in a sport that we don't cover here on the Blueprint, but Tiger Woods. I loved the story that Tiger once told when his dad was teaching him the game of golf when he was younger. There was an acronym that Earl Woods used to use for Tiger, and it was KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And that's basically what Howie Roseman's done with the Eagles. He's just kept it simple, like you said, and taken the best guys available. And I'll be honest with you, when they drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round, when you just signed Carson Wentz to that franchise-altering contract at the time, it's like, what are you doing? But he was ahead of the curve on that. He was right, and he took the best guy available at no matter what position, and it's typically worked out for him.
It certainly has, and it's pretty impressive to see, because he's kind of treating it like just a GM on like Madden. Like it's like it's his favorite team, and he celebrates like it is. He absolutely loves it. He loves the product he's put on the field, and I do too. They got
Woody Johnson would love to hire him. If he's taking Madden ratings into account, Woody Johnson, the Jets will want to sign him up.
Yeah, they would. But I mean, they pound the rock, like you say, Nick. Controlling the line of scrimmage is the most important thing. They do that. They drafted 2 good young corners. Like it's just hard to not root for a good Blueprint, and that's exactly what Howie Roseman has done. And I should have prefaced that by saying I'm not rooting for the Eagles because I don't want to see Mahomes three-peat and have him be in GOAT conversations. That's not it at all. It might be it if we're being honest, but as I am a Patriots fan, obviously, but no, I mean, it's impressive to see. You don't really see that all the time. Like a lot of teams that do that doesn't normally work. They pay a lot of the big money. Those don't work out, and then they can't really draft well. It's cool to see they've put it all together, and it's a blueprint a lot of teams should follow. And the Patriots have the chance to do that. They have good draft picks. They have a lot of money. They have a few young good pieces that they can build around, and they have a good coaching staff. So there's no reason why the Patriots can't just follow the Eagles' blueprint.
Nate?
Yeah, too. And to answer your question, Nick, I'm also on the Eagles bandwagon this weekend. I love the way that they approached the Saquon negotiations. They identified their guy. They went out and they got their guy. And obviously, he has completely taken that already productive offense and taken it up a notch, and he's been phenomenal this year. And it's hard not to root for a guy like Saquon. He does and says all the right things. I don't know if anybody saw the clip when he was 12 yards shy of his career high, and Sirianni came out and said, "Hey, do you want to go get it?" And he said, "No, let the young guys eat." And so that's a clip that just shows the leadership that he was able to bring. And a guy for Patriots blueprint talk, Zach Bond, linebacker that they brought in this year. He's going to be a free agent this year. So that's a guy that I would really, really like to see bring into the linebacker room for the New England Patriots this offseason.
And if anyone who knows me knows that I lived in Philadelphia for 6 years when I was in college. I was there for Super Bowl 52. I got dragged to the Eagles parade, and it was miserable. I was happy for the city in the sense, but it came at my expense and New England's expense. So if they won this time around, I'd be more excited for them. I'd be able to enjoy it more for my friends in the city. But you brought up Barkley, so I got a question for you. If the Eagles do pull off this win on Sunday, do they send a box with a bow with a championship ring to New Jersey and to give it to the Giants GM?
They should.
We all saw how that was completely fumbled, pun intended, there on Hard Knocks. But so what do you guys think happens? Is it a high scoring game? Is it more of a defensive battle? What is y'all's prediction for Super Bowl 59, as we now know?
I think if it's I was going to say
no, yeah, you go.
If high scoring or low scoring, if it's within a possession, I think it goes the Chiefs' way. Like, they're just too good at situational football. They've won, 16, 17 in a row now, one possession games. Like, it's hard to bet against that. So if you're the Eagles, you got to jump on them early. You got to control the ball. You got to control the time of possession. And that's where the Eagles' offensive line and Barkley definitely come up huge. So I think you're going to really see who's going to win this game by halftime. If the Eagles are up by a touchdown or more at halftime, I like their chances. If it's anything close, if it's tied within 3 points, it's hard to go against the Chiefs at that point, which is really strange to say for an Andy Reid team historically, with Andy Reid's history of clock mismanagement, which mysteriously has gone away the moment he got Patrick Mahomes. The clock issues have never been a problem for him ever since. But if the Eagles are to win this game, I think it has to be like a 31-21 type game. But I have a feeling it's going to be somewhere in the 27-24. Chiefs pull it out at the end in some dramatic fashion.
Finkel?
I think it's a fairly high scoring game. I don't know what the line set up, but and I think the Eagles thank you for that, Nick. I think the Eagles win just because they can control the line of scrimmage better than the Chiefs in terms of the running game, and I think they can control the time of possession a lot more. I mean, Pacheco hasn't been the same since he came back from that injury. And Kareem Hunt, I mean, he's one of the better kickers in the league, but I don't see why they keep putting him at running back. But I think for like Nick said, they're going to have to control the line of scrimmage and control time of possession. I think it goes the Eagles' way, and I think it's a fairly high-scoring game. I think there's going to be a big Saquon run. There's going to be some Mahomes deep downfield shots. Hurts will get loose. Brown and Smith might hook up for a couple deep ones. I think the offenses are too talented, too explosive in some areas, and just too experienced for it to be like a 27-20. I think it's going to be a very good football, very high-scoring game.
Well, the Chiefs only scored 30 points once this year.
No,
It's just last
I
game.
know.
So
I know, but it's still.
And the Eagles have a great defense. So that's why
But
it's going to be a mid-20s type of game.
Disagree.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to agree with you, Fink, that I'm going. I mean, we just saw the Eagles put up 50 plus in the NFC Championship game. We just saw the Chiefs put up 30 plus for the first time, to your point, Nick, when they really needed to. And so I'm going Eagles 33-30.
Like that.
So, that is on the higher scoring end, particularly for the Super Bowl, particularly between two teams that, historically have pretty good defenses throughout this year and have won a lot of games via their defense. But to your point, Fink, I think that, the Eagles have a distinct advantage if they get to play with all four downs in a way that most other teams don't. And so that's where I think that they certainly have an advantage and can control the clock and control the line of scrimmage that way. So before we move out of Super Bowl talk, let's go one quick hitter of favorite Super Bowl moment of your memory.
So I'm going to start this off, and I want to put this out there. Can we all agree to not choose Malcolm Butler, because that is the easiest one for Patriots fans, and that is the first one that immediately comes to mind. For me, I want to go back to the very first Super Bowl that I remember. I don't remember Super Bowl 36. I was 5 years old, so I wasn't allowed to stay up for that one. The first Super Bowl I remember staying up for was Super Bowl 38 against Carolina. Patriots end up winning that one, 32-29 at the end. But the play that I always remember it's come to be known as the Kevin Falk play. And we saw it in the 28-3 comeback, where it's the direct snap to the running back and Brady fakes like it's going over his head. It started in that game against Carolina in the fourth quarter for a 2-point conversion that they needed to go up 29-22. And that was always the highlight I loved watching of that game and growing up and rewatching the Super Bowl DVDs. It's the Kevin Falk 2-point direct snap, Super Bowl 38.
For me, it's the 28-3 game. It's on the defensive side with the Hightower strip sack. Mostly because recently I saw a clip of Matt Patricia on Edelman's podcast, and he broke down the play and everything that happened, how Coleman came out of the game, tweaked his ankle. Patricia knew they were going to mess up the coverage, and he wanted to bring the house. And it was just cool to see how they broke it down. And I mean, obviously that was a huge play of the game, but seeing it from that side, and skinny Patricia, might I add, he looks great. Holy moly.
Ozempic.
Yeah.
Ozempic.
Talk about Nate's doppelganger, am I right? But anyway, just kidding. You don't look like him, Nate. But no, that's probably my favorite play, I think, from the Super Bowls I remember.
For me, same game, and it's going to be the Edelman catch. I mean, that was such an improbable moment, and one that came up obviously so clutch that I don't think that we'll ever see anything quite like it, with obviously the magnitude of the stage that they were on, that it was obviously it was a Super Bowl and a catch that very few people on earth could even come close to. And in the biggest of moments, Julian Edelman came in clutch, which he had a tendency to do. So
yeah. Sorry. I was just going to comment on the Edelman catch. Like, after all the Super Bowls where we had to sit through David Tyree, Mario Manningham, and it gets overshadowed because of Malcolm Butler, but the Jermaine Kearse circus catch down the sideline in Super Bowl 49 just 2 years earlier, we were always the victim of some stupid, improbable catch. And the most improbable comeback you'll ever see in a Super Bowl in almost any playoff football game ever you get the most improbable, stupid catch in the game tying drive in the final 2 minutes. So it's like finally watching it live, it's like finally we have one go our way.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you've been watching since the beginning, we teased a new segment, and this is one I thought of recently that I'm really excited for. It's titled Walsh's Vault, and so a little backstory there. Nick has one of the greater memories, and I think Nate can attest to this a little more than I can. I think Nick can recall any Boston sporting event of any time he's been alive whenever you need him to. So we're just going to put him on the spot. So, Nick, take a trip down memory lane and just revisit a classic Patriots game or season or moment, anything that you want to talk about. What comes to your mind?
So when you brought this idea up earlier today, I was trying to think of what game could I relate to this week, and we're doing Super Bowl week. So I was thinking, well, this Super Bowl is Eagles, Chiefs, Andy Reid. What could I really pick from? And I said, why not do Super Bowl 39 where the Patriots Eagles were? Yeah. Andy Reid on the sidelines for the Eagles, Mike Vrabel on the field for the Patriots, who's now the head coach. But that game was the game that solidified the dynasty, or the first half of the dynasty. They had just come off 2 Super Bowl wins in 3 years. The year before, they won the Super Bowl against Carolina that I was just talking about with the Kevin Falk play. To me, when you talk about all-time great Patriots teams, there's only 2 that are in the conversation who get the number 1 spot. It's the 2014 team or the 2004 team. And that 2014 was dominant. They went 14-2. They started off 6-0, had at the time the all-time win streak of 21 games. It got snapped on Halloween night against Pittsburgh. This was Ben Roethlisberger's rookie year. Pittsburgh goes 15-1. Because of that Halloween game, Patriots at 14-2, Pittsburgh at 15-1. You got to go into Pittsburgh for the AFC Championship game. That was Tom Brady's flu game. He was playing that game with 103 temperature. Goes out, they drop 41 points, go to the Super Bowl in Jacksonville against Philadelphia to face Andy Reid, who was in the midst of leading the Eagles to, I believe, 4 straight NFC Championship games. This was the Super Bowl that they got to. Terrell Owens was coming back early off of a broken leg. Would have been Super Bowl MVP if they would have won that game. Patriots could not cover them. And out of the early 3 Super Bowls, this is the one that kind of, I would say, gets forgotten because there was no dramatic finish. The Patriots were always comfortably in control of this game. Brady throws for 2 touchdowns, 1 to David Givens, 1 to our friend Mike Vrabel, who came in on offense, got basically manhandled, catches the touchdown pass. Corey Dillon has a touchdown run. They win 24-21. It's also the game that, if you're an Eagles fan, you remember that Donovan McNabb's puking in the huddle in the 4th quarter and dry heaving and wondering why they're not running a hurry-up offense down 2 scores in the 4th quarter. It's because he got hammered the night before and was playing basically hungover and caught up to him. And what I remember most about this game is at the very end, after the Rodney Harrison, shout out why I'm wearing this jersey tonight, Rodney's jersey, who should be in the Hall of Fame, basically. That's a topic we can get into another day. But after that, I just remembered the Gatorade shower of, first it was Charlie Weiss, Romeo Crennel, and Belichick, the original 2 coordinators and the head coach. There was the last time all 3 of them were together. They get the Gatorade shower, and then Belichick gets the shower again with his dad right next to him. And I believe it was the following year was when his dad passed away. So that image of Belichick and his dad getting the Gatorade shower is something I always remember. So that is what I chose for my Patriots vault, for thinking it was relevant for this week.
That is ridiculous. I don't know how you just did that, but I am impressed, and I am very glad that you have a podcast and now have a segment like that. But now, Nate, it is your turn. It's your favorite time of each episode. It is Nate's trivia time. So, Nate, give us the answer to last episode's question and then take it away with a Patriot question or Super Bowl, whatever you want to do with it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Bink. And Nick, well done on your debut of the vault. That right there that's why we decided to do this. And I would be willing to bet, so just for all of our listeners, I'd be willing to bet you did that with no notes.
Not at all. No notes at all.
Straight off the dome. And that
just impressive. Popped into his head that whole time. He's like, oh, let me flip through the files up here real quick. And he had a 10-page MLA formatted paper ready to go. That was ridiculous.
But to answer your question, Fink, if for all those that listened to our Bruins episode, our Bruins debut episode, the correct answer to the trivia question for the AHLer that scored 4 goals was none other than Blake Wheeler, Winnipeg Jets great. And so for all those that got it right, congratulations. We will be picking one of you to send you some merch. Those that got it right and we did not pick, keep submitting those answers. Eventually we will get to you and you'll get some of our merch. But this week's trivia question is, of course, Patriots. And it's, what Patriots defensive back was named to the AP's All-Pro team as a cornerback in 2010 and a safety in 2013? Again, what Patriots defensive back was named to the AP All-Pro team as a cornerback in 2010 and a safety in 2013? Drop it in the comments below your answer to that trivia question, and we will get started on getting some merch out there.
Yeah, might I add, there's some new merch on the way, so be on the lookout for that. I don't think Nick and Nate are aware of that yet, but merch is on the way for sure. Let's wrap this thing up. It's closing thought time. Nate, you just went, so I'm going to kick it right back to you. Wrap this thing up.
Yeah, it's hard not to be excited about Super Bowl week, but obviously that's the close of the chapter of a pretty dismal Patriots season, and I am just so excited for the blueprint of what this Patriots roster is looking to fill out like. I think that as Patriots fans, we've seen the highs of highs. We've been in the Chiefs and the Eagles' shoes many, many times, but now we're on the other side of that, looking to regain our prominence within the league. And I think that the coaching staff that we laid out in detail this episode is putting us well in position to regain that prominence that I just talked about. So there's a lot to be excited about to be a Patriots fan.
Nick?
I really wanted to make my closing thought that Rodney Harrison should be in the Hall of Fame, with the Hall of Fame vote being Saturday, reveal being Saturday, but that will send me on a whole nother rant. But I'm just to echo what Nate said, I'm excited for this offseason to finally see how they're going to put this thing together. And time will tell. And hopefully both teams can lose on Sunday for the Super Bowl. But I think that's the ultimate dream, but reality is we won't get that.
Yeah, and my closing thoughts are just keep pushing out all the content on social. On the socials, we have a lot of fun stuff planned coming up, and even more content coming later this week. A lot of fun interviews planned. We're working hard. We want to just get our stuff out there. So keep sharing with your friends. We're trying to get merch out there. We'll get that stuff out there soon, but we appreciate all you guys that listen each week and each episode, and couldn't do it without you, and we appreciate it a lot. So peace.